it was I planned the retreat, so I'm very proud of myself, and I hope everyone had a great time and everyone made it back safely. So
We all get there, and we did so much there. I think it's hard to decide what was my favorite thing because making the custard tarts was amazing. But the riddle tour, where we literally our team ran all over Lisbon, and we were trying so hard to get there first, and then your team beat us, and then it turned out you cheated.
I don't think we cheated. I think we were being very efficient, right, Honors?
Very efficient. Yeah.
But it was such great fun, and we went to Sintra and did some sightseeing there, didn't we? We got some great photos.
We did, yes. We got to explore this garden with a famous well. I don't know. I don't remember any of the history that we learned. I just know it was beautiful.
It was, and the Fado night as well.
Oh yes, Fado night was such a great experience. And if you ever go to Portugal, that is something that I highly recommend you do. It's a nice dinner with a live uh entertainment, I guess you would call it, but a live performance of the local music that they have.
Yeah, it was really special. Jenny managed to book us. I think it was like one of the oldest places that they do Fado in Lisbon, at least, maybe even the country. It was so gorgeous.
You felt a little bit like you were in like a Godfather movie or something. It's like the same kind of vibe.
Yeah, it was very like old school, and we all had to be like silent while it was going on. I was eating my dinner really quietly, but it was good dinner as well.
And no cell phones or photos. Really let us, focus on the music and the singing and the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a really reminder of how much more you can get out of something when you're really present for it as well. Does anyone have anything else that they wanted to share about Lisbon? It's hard because we did so much. Oh, we also had a great workshop, didn't we, Jenny? We got to do lots of planning for the year ahead.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's very exciting stuff. I don't know what we can share, but we definitely did a lot, like a whole day worth of planning for the next quarter, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. You even take us for a fun trip away, and we managed to do work as well. And you see on social media, we also posted a nice photo that Jenny took of us all co-working together. And that was really fun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we ate all the pastéis de nata, so...
But we brought back the recipe, and so we should be able to all cook it at home as well. I don't know if I can reproduce that, but we'll try.
Yeah. And we were talking about making a state chart of the recipe and sharing that as well, so that'll be fun.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should start talking about state charts. First things first, there's something big happening tomorrow, isn't there? David and Jenny and Gavin, who is not currently here.
Gavin's currently on a flight on his way to Orlando to meet with us. And tomorrow we're partnering with Orlando Devs, and we're hosting a hackathon. And it's all about state machines. So if you are in Orlando and you're watching, please come on by and hack with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. To Martin and folks on the team who are saying that the YouTube stream isn't working, I've tried to kick it into gear again. And hopefully it should start working. If it's not working for you yet, maybe try refreshing. I'm doing what I can to try to get the technology to all work as it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We changed a couple of settings over the winter break, and I think a couple things broke, but there are some people on YouTube, so I guess it's working for some people. Also, we do much more planning than one day per quarter. I promise you.
Oh yeah, but it's just really rare that we get to do that planning in person together, and that was one of the things that was really great about that day. And we really packed it out. It was a very long day.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the hackathon as well, Jenny and David, you did a webinar last night in preparation for the hackathon.
Yeah, that's right. So we had a hour and a half long webinar in which we talked about state machines, talked about XState and why you would use it. There were a lot of good questions in the webinar, and we also built a checkout form state machine from scratch to highlight one of the best use cases for a state machine, which is a multi-step form. This was a free webinar, and of course, our future webinars are going to be free too. And we are going to make that link available. It should be recorded on YouTube. I think, Laura, you did that. So
It will
yeah,
be heading onto YouTube as soon as it's processed. Hey, maybe that's why it's causing us technical issues with YouTube right now.
maybe.
Yeah, and I will make sure that the subtitles are up to date on Monday, so that if you like to have subtitles with your video, that will be sorted out for you too. Now, I think we should talk about what's been going on with the studio, because even though I guess we've been off for maybe 1 month since the last office hours, we have done so much, and there is so much goodness coming to you this year. And as this is just, I'm so excited about this demo. Would you like to tell us what you're going to share with us today?
Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our plans around GitHub. So I've dressed accordingly today, put on my GitHub shirt. So I'll try to share my window here. And we have a few things planned for how Stately can kind of better interact with first GitHub, and also we also have other providers in mind, but we're starting with GitHub because that's what we use daily, and yeah, so it's a good place to start. And one of the things we were thinking about is when using stuff like Code Sandbox, you can go in and you can find a specific file, and then you can just change the URL, and then it'll open in Code Sandbox, for instance. So we're trying to do something similar for the editor. So this fun thing, XSnake, which is snake built using XState. David showed it yesterday on the hackathon webinar. It was really fun. So if I wanted to see this machine inside the editor, I can just go to GitHub, go to this file, and I can click my magic little bookmark, and it'll send me into the Stately editor and import that file. It'll do an auto layout because there was no layout data in that machine. And here we have it. It's probably a bit small, but this is the machine from the file, and I can simulate, so I can see I'm in the new game state. If I hit an arrow key, I'm now inside the actual game. And if I think this looks cool, I can save this machine into my Stately Studio Editor projects. I can create a new project for it. Hit save, and now I'm being sent over to that project. And now it's not in read-only mode anymore. I now have this machine and I can change it. It's being saved. And yeah, so that's one of the first things we're looking at. It's going to be really easy once we get this out there. You're going to be able to just like hit .com and change that to, I think it's going to be stately.ai. And we're also going to share when we release it in the blog post how you can kind of create this magical little bookmark yourself. So you can just click one button and it'll import. Yeah.
That is so cool. Oh, that's going to be so useful for everyone who's already got machines that they've written in XState. Get them straight in there really easily.
Yeah, it should be really easy. And I can also share this is a bit more it's a bit further in the future, and I'm not sure how exactly we're going to use it, but let's say you have like a full repository with a lot of machines in it. You can also import like a full thing. So for instance, the studio itself, which has a lot of machines in it, I can now click this repository. It'll actually, while we're just waiting for this spinner, it'll download a full repository as a zip file. It'll unzip it, and it'll extract every machine and create a new project. And there's quite a few machines in here, so actually a lot happening in not that much time. So this is the entire studio, all the machines in the studio. Yeah, I'm not sure when or how we're going to release this specific feature, but the one where you go like look at a single file and hit this one to open it, that's going to be available pretty soon. And after that, there's more interesting GitHub stuff coming, but we'll save that for later office
Yeah,
hours.
there'll be a sneaky secret for now.
Yeah.
Matez asks, where is Fazad? Fazad is looking after his family this afternoon. It's okay, he's fine. Don't worry about him. It's hard to fit all of us in office hours at once, so it's good to give some people a day off every now and again.
Oh, and one of the highlights from Lisbon was Farsad taking us to a Persian restaurant. That was so nice.
That was
Yeah,
great.
it was
It
really
was
good
cool.
food. It was lovely to have someone there to help explain all the stuff that's best on the menu for us to try. That was a great treat. So next up, David, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been working on in the studio? I'm not sure whether you have a demo specifically for that, or oh, there we go, you do.
Yeah, I do. So yeah, we've been making a lot of small changes, or not changes, but more like improvements to the studio the past few weeks, juggling both planning the retreat and also just improving the experience here and listening to feedback. So, things like copy and paste now make more sense. We're going to keep yours, events. And there's just small things like that. But one of the changes, which is small, but actually really big, and you'll see what I mean by that in a minute, is performance. So with machines like this, no problem. Right now, we are in Stately.ai, the current prod release of Stately. And there's a machine over here that I'm actually terrified to click. It's this catalog Mach, M-A-C-H. And this was actually a machine that I found while debugging some other issues just in the public registry. Here's the scary thing about this. This machine has over 50 states and transitions, which, it is pretty big, but it's not unreasonably big. However, when I click on it, I'm dragging right now, and you could see nothing is moving. I was actually terrified to click that because I knew that this would happen. It's just extremely laggy. And so I'm going to go over here and show you that we have 33 states and 77 transitions. So over 100 over there. So performance, really terrible over here. But now if we go over here, we have a machine with similar characteristics. In fact, let me go ahead and copy and paste some more. I can. So, just to make this just a lot bigger. Anyway, so now we have like a bunch more. 79 states, 33 transitions. Let's copy some transitions over. Oh, of course. So don't worry about how messy this is. I'm on purpose just trying to make a really gnarly state machine with a lot of states and a lot of transitions. And you could see that when I drag, everything is still actually surprisingly smooth. Don't open DevTools because that slows it down because of how Chrome works. But if you're working with this normally, we could move a ton of states, and performance is hopefully just very, very much improved. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
A related question that I can anticipate. Why wouldn't you want a really big machine? What point would you want to break it into smaller machines?
So it's just sort of like delegation of responsibility where, for example, if you had a company and you were the only person at that company, you have a million jobs to do. And so that doesn't really make sense from an efficiency standpoint, which is why, of course, you hire people who are better than you, which I've done. Everyone here is better than me, and you have them help out with the responsibilities. So the same sort of idea goes for machines as well. You don't want one machine doing absolutely everything, and that's why you could invoke and spawn other machines so that they could share those responsibilities, and you don't have all of this crazy logic inside of a single machine. With that said, sometimes it's unavoidable. And so that's what state charts do best. They let you represent this complexity nested in parent states and just group things together. So it does anticipate that complexity if you need it. And so that's why over here, we are also anticipating that complexity when it comes to visualizing the machine and ensuring that you get good performance when you're working with the machine.
Fabulous. So this is not to be abused, but it's there in case you need it.
Right.
And talking of other things that you've been working on an improved Invoke API for XState version 5.
Yeah, that's right. So, like I mentioned on Twitter and elsewhere, we are fast approaching X8 V5 beta. And if you didn't know, X8 V5 is in alpha right now. The docs are, I guess, almost non-existent, but that's because it's changing so much that we don't want to write anything in stone. But if you're feeling adventurous, then you could play around with the X8 V5 alpha. So one of the biggest changes, and hopefully this font size is big enough, otherwise I could increase it a little. Actually, I'll just go ahead and increase it. Never hurts.
That's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the biggest changes is in how you invoke things. So in version 4, for example, the way that you would invoke a promise, you'd have a function here, and then you'd have a promise like that. It seems simple enough, but the problem with this is that we were basically hard coding implementations for promises, observables, callbacks, etc. And we wanted to make this more flexible. So, and also both type safe and more of a standardized interface. So now you could call from promise. And what this is going to create is, you could think of it like an actor behavior, or like a special type of machine that's extremely lightweight. And this is going to spawn that promise. So let's just do not a fetch, but new promise and set timeout. Just give it 42. Just the example I do all the time. And so this is how you would invoke a promise. You have from promise, and like you can imagine, there's other functions like this, like from observable, from reducer. So you could actually convert your Redux reducers really easily and use it inside of XState, and other things like that. And of course, we have on done. And let's go to active. And so you could see this is actually going to go from X to green in about 2 seconds. The other thing too, spawn is much less magical now. So you see over here, we have spawn, and you could do the same thing as below, like I could do from reducer and pass my reducer in there. But something that you can't do in V4 that you could now do in V5, you could actually pass a string implementation. So this fetch string is the same as over here, and it's going to resolve with some data. And just to show you down here, we do get that some data. I'm just adding a wildcard transition over here to do that. And so this, it might seem like a change just on the surface for making the API more consistent, but what it enables is something much, much more powerful, at least in my opinion. So in version 4, you get an actor by interpreting a machine. So in this case, a toggle machine. And then, of course, starting it. And then you could listen to it. But here's the thing. Let's say that you have logic that you don't want to convert to a state machine yet, or it's already existing in a big async function or a reducer or something like that. So let's call this, for example, const fetch user. We could call from promise, which, yep, it's completely outside the machine. And then we could do new promise, solve, and let's just resolve with, name David. And so that's my entire thing. So instead of interpreting a machine, we could actually interpret that fetch user directly, because XState version 5 takes the stance of everything is an actor. And so that includes machines, promises, reducers, callbacks, and actually anything that you want to create. So you could create custom, we call them internally actor behaviors. So you could create one that maybe works with a generator, maybe one that works with WebSockets. So you could maybe have like a from WebSocket and then just use that directly. And of course, anything that you could use in here, you could invoke or spawn. And so while it's very flexible to use promises and reducers and all of that, you are going to get the full features of XState when you use machines. So yeah, everything can work together in harmony. And that's just a quick overview.
Oh, that's really cool. If I wanted to try this today, what would be the easiest way to do that?
Great question. So what you could do, you could see over here, you could try XState at alpha. So it's on NPM already. And of course, we also have alpha releases for XState React. Yeah, so this is if you want to try it now. Again, there's little to no documentation. That's going to come, when we actually finalize the API. Mateusz has been working really hard on this, and eventually it will make it into the new docs. Hopefully I'm not saying anything too soon, but there is that.
No, you're not. And docs are a living document, so docs can always be updated. So we are going to make sure that we get the V5 stuff in there as soon as possible. I shall be on top of that, or be on top of making you all do that. Is Receptionist coming in version 5?
Very good question. So yeah, I actually have a draft PR, or at least a local PR, local branch, I guess you could call it. It's not a PR yet, where the first step is to add a system. And so this is also a change that you're not going to see much on the surface. You're going to be able to create a system explicitly, but when you create a machine and there is no system, it creates an implicit system. And so with that system, we're going to have methods where you could actually set actors by name and get them from any other actor within the same system. So you could think of a system like a neighborhood or like a company, where in our company, we could talk to people within the company in the same Discord. Same thing with the receptionist pattern. As long as we know the name of an actor that it's registered under, then you're going to be able to access it.
And Mateusz's response to that is, it's a new feature, we'll see. We need to revamp the core first to enable for building on top of that. So I love that we've got the team interacting from inside of the comments too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thankfully, the receptionist feature, it is not something that needs to be released before beta. So we could actually build on top of whatever we decide to release. So hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, but it's going to make its way into V5 one way or another.
And Mateusz seconds that. Not everything has to come in V5. The point is to enable us to add features gradually. Love it. This is a great way for Mateusz to be on the stream. Now, I was just going to jump back to a question that Cedric asked earlier when we were talking about the big machines inside of the studio and breaking them down into smaller machines. And Cedric asks, is there a way to jump from the main machine to a spawned machine easily?
Not yet, but we are working on, I guess, internally, like a refactor in the editor, but externally, there's going to be a lot of new features where you could do more editing on the canvas directly. And as part of that change, we're going to have richer controls for, selecting, instead of just writing any invocation name or source or ID, you could actually select from the same machines in the project that you have. And also, Nick has a lot of ideas for being able to jump or zoom into like other machines that you've invoked, and even potentially see multiple machines at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting projects that we have going on right now. It won't be coming, I don't think, in the near future, but certainly it's ongoing.
Hidesao asks, what's a receptionist? So I know that you did just kind of explain it in a slightly abstract way. Would you just have to give a really quick glossary response to that one, David?
Yeah, sure. So a receptionist is a way of registering actors by name, and any other actor could look up that actor by name. So in the same way that None of us are here in person. We can't reach over to the person and ask them a question, but we have their Discord handle, we have their email, so we could just chat with them because we know that handle.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for that. Now, there was something that I wanted to share with everyone from this week, and that is that the new docs are now available. I feel almost nervous saying that because it's been such a long time. So let me share my screen with you. Here we go. Now, oh, that's nice and big. So this is the new Stately Docs. It's kind of technically still in beta because, as I said earlier, these are living docs and there will always be things that we want to add, but there may be quite a few things that we've missed or that you think we need as soon as possible. And if you get to our docs and you find that and you want things, please let us know. We would really appreciate your feedback. These docs are for you, and we want to try to make them as thorough as we can possibly make them. Our most requested feature in the docs was dark mode. As you can see from this, we have dark mode. We have light mode as well. And thanks to some help from Anders, there's images also in light mode and dark mode. And I think that's particularly cool. It's a lot of the images that we have in our tutorials. For example, if I go into this initial states one, it took a second to load. Because these are actually images directly from the share image URL function inside of the studio. So if you're in the machines list, you select share machine URL, you'll get lovely images like this in dark mode and in light mode. They can sometimes take a second to load just because it's grabbing the latest version of the machine. So live updating URLs as well. That's very cool. So what you'll probably notice is most different about the docs from before is that these docs are for XState. There is full XState documentation in here. So you can see XState, state chart basics, as well as all the information you need for getting to use the studio too. A quick shout out to Matt Pocock as well, who really helped write a huge amount of the XState docs that we've got in here when he was with us last year. And you'll see a lot of Mattisms in there for sure. There's some really great XState writing. And yeah, so we have full tutorials. We also have, for many of these tutorials, accompanying videos on YouTube as well. This is all built using Docusaurus, and thanks to a lot of hard work from Anders. Oh, and that is one of the things that you will love. The search. The search is great. It really works. So if, for example, I wanted to look up something about actors, I have a huge number of relevant and useful search results. I know that's a big problem that we have with documentation across the web in general. And the final thing I think I'll probably share with you is at the bottom of every page, we have the classic edit this page on GitHub link. So if you do want to contribute to our docs, please do. Just go ahead, go for it. There is also a wiki on the repository for the docs that gives you a little bit of information about how we structure and write content for our docs that I've written. I'll be adding more information there in the next few weeks or so. But if you have any questions or anything you want help with, please feel free to contact me or anyone else on the team, and we will help you out. So I think that's everything that I wanted to share about the docs. Did I cover everything, Anders?
Yeah, I think it looks so great. I mean, as a user coming in, I would probably have 2 or more questions, but the first 2 would be, where would I find these new docs?
That is a fantastic question. I should have made a banner for it already. I will make one on the fly. It is at, oh, thank you, mysterious banner god, stately.ai/docs.
Thank you. The second question would be, how about the old docs? I mean, are they still around, and which ones should I use?
The old docs are still around because we're conscious that there may be things that are different in there, and there may be some docs that you really relied on and loved for XState, and so we don't want to just go destroying everything that already existed. Right now, this will be our point where we're like going forward. Our docs will be updated from here at stately.ai/docs, and we will see what we're going to do with the XState docs. I think right now I'm just very conscious of not breaking URLs and breaking reference links that people have to those existing docs. So I guess these are the 2.0 version of the docs, I guess is the right way of putting it.
Thank you. And I can see with Heart asked if there are no more graph docs, and we actually built this on top of everything that was already done with the graph docs. So it's all the content from graph docs has been moved into this new documentation site. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you had tried out the preview link that we had for Graph Docs before, you'll probably find that there was quite a lot of unfinished and broken links in there. And so all that content has been moved over, integrated into these docs. It was the starting point. And we're hoping that maybe in the future we'll be able to go back to some of that graph functionality, because that was a really cool way of like designing a curriculum and a structure throughout the docs. So I think it would be a cool thing to go back to at some point. Hidusale says, is this available for the public? Absolutely is. Yeah, our image embeds available to everyone. Yes, they are. It's a feature that we've not really shouted about very much because it is kind of, not to spoiler too much, and as on its route towards a GitHub integration. I think it would be a very valuable part of that. And for a lot of people, it's you may not necessarily know like the best use cases for it right now, but yeah, documentation is one of them for sure. And we could do with a more prominent link to GitHub. Noted. I will make sure that I get that on there. And yeah, David is wearing a very fancy Stately collared shirt.
Yes.
He's the only person that gets the collared shirt. That's what the boss gets.
We'll make more.
And Graph Docs had the best React content. Yeah, there's some really great content in there, and we will certainly be adding more React content in the future. Now, did anyone else have anything that they wanted to share this week, team? Well, here's something. I realized that we didn't do our introductions to the team at the beginning of the stream. So I thought, how about we do it at the end so everyone knows who was speaking here today? So I'll kick us off. Outroductions.
Love
so
that.
my outroduction is I am and have been Laura, and I do advocacy for Stately. David?
Hey, I'm David. I am the glass half full and the plate's always full guy here at Stately.
Yeah, the founder and creator of XState as well. And Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I plan retreats for Stately.
And Jenny does so much more than that. Jenny basically is the glue that keeps the whole team together, keeps us moving forward. She certainly underplays her role. And Nick.
And I'm Nick, and I do product design and actor systems and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, a lot of the really cool stuff you got to look forward to coming from Nick, that's for sure. We've seen some sneak peeks. Really amazing work you got to see coming up. And Kevin.
I'm Kevin, and I'm doing engineering work at Stately with all of you fine folks, and more.
And more, so much more. There's a huge number of features coming from everyone. And last but not least, Anders.
Yes, Anders and I do programming at Stately and author of many bad jokes on our internal Discord. Boomer jokes.
Some good ones too.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you make us laugh. We like dad jokes. And so that was our team. And thank you for joining us for this office hours. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. That will be February 3rd. And we hope to see you there with us again. All right.
See you all.
Bye-bye.